So in this video I'm going to run through what zone 2 running is. So I did a video last week where I kind of gave a few tips for beginner runners, and one of those tips was to run slowly, and that would involve zone 2 running. So what zone 2 running is running at a certain percentage of your maximum heart rate. So for example, if your maximum heart rate was 194, you would run at beats per minute somewhere between 60 to 70% of this heart rate, which comes in around a maximum of 136 beats per minute. So that's how it would work for somebody that's using a heart rate monitor to accurately show their heart rate during the run, which is what I do, but not everyone has a heart rate monitor, and some people would use their watch instead. But you have to remember, the watch, while it can be accurate, it doesn't take constant readings, and therefore it's not always going to be accurate. So another good way of checking that you're in zone 2 is to run at a pace where you can hold a conversation. So you imagine if you're on your run, if somebody rang you on the phone, would you be able to actually speak to this person in full sentences, not just 3 or 4 words? It doesn't mean that the person has to think that you're not exercising. They'll obviously be able to hear you breathing heavier and stuff like that, but you are able to complete full sentences without struggling too much to breathe. So now I want to get into why you would do zone 2 running as opposed to what a lot of people think they should do, and just running kind of flat out as fast as they can and just get the run over with as soon as they can. So the first thing to bear in mind is that we're talking about a percentage of your maximum heart rate. So we're talking about how many beats per minute. One of the reasons for this is because if you think about it, your heart is a muscle. So what we're doing is we're training our heart to be able to work hard for longer, and therefore to become a stronger muscle. So a lot of the time it's actually classed as heart rate training when we're sticking to a certain percentage of our maximum heart rate, and that's literally what we're doing. So we're training our heart to be a stronger muscle, and therefore it's going to just improve our overall performance and your heart's ability to work for longer periods of time at a continuous time. So for example, in my video last week I suggested for beginners to begin running for 30 minutes at a time, and we can then increase that across multiple days and then increase the time. So what you're doing is train your heart to be able to run for those 30 minutes and then add in extra days, and then once we've done that, we can build up the time. Again, your heart's going to learn and train to run for longer periods of time. So we'll move on to a couple of other benefits of zone 2 running. So what zone 2 running does is it increases the mitochondria density in your body and the amount of myoglobin in your body. So what myoglobin does is it actually carries oxygen around the body and delivers it to your mitochondria, which are these cells within your body, and what those cells do is convert oxygen into energy. So by training in zone 2, what we're doing is increasing these mitochondria, and therefore we're going to increase the amount of oxygen that we can convert to energy and the efficiency of how our body actually converts that oxygen. And therefore over time you're going to be able to run for longer, and you will be able to run at faster paces due to this because you'll get more oxygen. So next up, the zone 2 run is defined as being in the fat burning zone. What this means is not what people usually think, which is that you're burning more fat and therefore burning more weight off your body and losing weight quicker. Realistically, the faster you run, you're actually going to have a higher heart rate, burn more calories and lose weight quicker that way. However, what we're doing here is we're using fat as a fuel source as opposed to trying to just burn fat off our bodies. So by teaching our body to use fat as a fuel source, basically it allows you to be able to run for longer, because you've obviously got a lot of stored fat on your body, whereas carbs are limited. You can only hold 90 minutes of carbs within your body to be used for energy, whereas fat you've pretty much got like nearly an unlimited amount all stored in our bodies. So then naturally, if we can teach our bodies to use this as a fuel source, it's just more efficient. So I've already mentioned growing your mitochondria and improving them within your body, but it also does grow different muscles. For example, Achilles tend to be an injury area for runners. The slower you run, the less force and impact you're going to put on your Achilles, and as it's a tendon, basically the way to improve its resistance to injury is by stressing it but not overly stressing it. So by running slower, what you're going to do is give it a good amount of stress so that they will become stronger and more durable, avoiding injury. Whereas if you're running as fast as you can, you're putting a lot more force through them, and probably you've not built up the strength to actually take that force on. So slower running is going to build muscles like that, and tendons, for example. Also what it does is develops type 1 muscle fibers within your body, which are kind of referred to as slow twitch fibers. What these do is use energy a bit more efficiently than fast twitch fibers, which are used to kind of flat out sprint and stuff like that. So you're developing again all these little muscles within your body, and primarily through your legs, and it's just going to make you a more efficient and capable runner. Another factor is that by running zone 2, again, you're putting less impact on your body, so your recovery time is going to be shorter, which means you can get out and run more often. Whereas if you're doing a flat out sprint, you're going to need to recover, and it just takes time, so you're able to spend less time actually running. So I've kind of explained some of the benefits. What I want to do now is post a few of my runs when I kind of first started running, and just show you the difference between how I was training then, which is running flat out, and then how I trained kind of leading up to my first ever marathon, and just the different impacts that had on my paces, my heart rate, and different things like that. So if we look at this run that's popped up, I'm running at a pretty decent pace overall. I've done about 10k in about 51 minutes, but you can see my heart rate is massive, so I'm kind of pushing right on my maximum heart rate, so it's pretty much an all-out effort. And probably by the end of this run, I mean, you can actually see during the run I had to stop a few times, so this would have been a all-out effort basically. So I'm really pushing the limits of my body, and I will gain fitness by doing this, but I'll take more time to recover, and it kind of works different parts of the body. So again, like the fuel source for this run would have been carbs rather than stored fat and things like that. So the question here really is, what kind of improvements am I making by doing these runs? If you do them as part of running alongside your easier runs, you will gain benefits. It's building up speed alongside fitness that you're building on your easy runs. But in this case, I was running like this every time I ran, so I was constantly at a maximum effort, and I wasn't making the same strides that I would make nowadays. So I think it is worth acknowledging I was making improvements, just very slowly and very incrementally. So for example, you can see about a month later I'm running at a slightly faster pace but a similar pace, and my heart rate is actually a bit easier. I think that's actually probably on my way back I slowed down a bit, but yeah, you can see I am making little improvements, but it's just not the most efficient way to do it. And it's also worth bearing in mind I had quite a good fitness base from playing football and stuff, and I was doing a lot of cycling alongside this, which would have been at a lower heart rate, which was improved my fitness. So this is a summary of my April training, so you can see plenty of runs in there, but also I'm doing a lot of cycling, which are the green ones. So then we come to a run in August, and you can see that my paces again are improving, but again my heart is operating at quite a high beats per minute, so it's stressing the body a lot. So ultimately I'm just not being very efficient, and I'm also creating a bigger risk of injury. It's also worth bearing in mind that this is improvements from the start of March to August, so it's taken a long time to get to this point. So it was only around February 2022 that I kind of began doing easier runs at a slower pace, and you can see that my heart rate is much lower in this run than what I had been previously at even faster paces. So at this time I actually would have been running more in the zone 3 than zone 2, which is basically just a more intense level of zone 2. It's more for building endurance over long distances such as marathon training, and I was training for the Manchester Marathon at this point, so it kind of made sense, but still probably not as efficient as I could have been. So I don't want to make the video too much about my own personal runs, but I just wanted to give an example of how doing easier training helped me to prepare for a marathon overall. So in the end I ran just 1 minute and 44 seconds over my 3-hour target, so it was really quite close, but I wouldn't have been able to sustain that pace without having done about 2 months of base training, which is pretty much what zone 2 and zone 3 training are, so building up your base level of fitness. So I just wanted to include that at the end, just as an example of kind of the benefits of doing zone 2 and zone 3 and the benefit it brought me. I definitely don't think I would have achieved that time without doing them. I think my body would have been too tired, and I never would have made the efficient improvements that I did. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought, and thanks for everyone for watching.